Welcome to the Vibrantly You podcast. We're your hosts, Megan Martineau
and Caitlin Cipriano. In this podcast, we talk about fitness and nutrition on your motherhood journey. Whether you are trying to conceive, pregnant, postpartum, or beyond, you are welcome here.
Nothing is off limits, and our goal is to support you in this important season of life so that you can feel vibrantly you. As a reminder, this information is not medical advice. Please see the show notes for more details. Welcome back to the Vibrantly You podcast. We are back today for part 2 of our conversation, things we said we never do as moms and then did. This is part of our new series called Coffee Chit-Chats, where we're discussing things that we are dealing with as moms. So last week we talked about screen time and sleep schedules. If you missed that conversation, be sure to go back and listen to episode 49. Today, we are going to talk about gentle parenting. So I'm sure if you are listening to this, you are very aware of what gentle parenting is. This is, a big buzzword on social media these days in terms of like a parenting style. I remember, I don't know, I feel like it was probably when we were both pregnant with our sons. So that would have been, 2019, 2020, where this was really starting to become like, I don't want to say all the rage, but like all the rage, right? On social media, people talking about this new way to parent. And gentle parenting technically is authoritative parenting, correct? Now I need to look that up.
I know. Sounds right.
Yes, authoritative parenting, which is to be trusted, accurate, reliable. So not to be confused with authoritarian, which is where it's like my rules are the rules, what I say goes, kind of parent. But I do feel like there's a lot of, confusion around like, and, we're not parenting experts, right? Like we're just talking about our experiences, disclaimer, right? Like don't take our advice.
Yeah, no.
But it's like, I feel like there's a lot of, confusion around this. People tend to like confuse it with like permissive parenting, where it's kind of like, oh, sweetie, it's okay. You want more candy? You can have more candy. Like, but it's just one of those things that I feel like, I don't know, like back in those days of social media, again, we're talking like 2019, 2020, it was kind of like, this is what you're supposed to do. And if you don't do this, like, you're a shit parent, right?
Yeah. I was just say like that's how I felt when I started seeing that kind of content come up, which was obviously like when I was pregnant. And so you're trying to figure out like, okay, like how are you going to approach certain types of situations? And I think when it makes you feel like, okay, like you can never like yell at your kid. And again, if you like yell, then you're a bad parent. But like there's times where like you can take as many deep breaths as you want to, but like you've hit a certain point in you're overstimulated, the dog's barking, the toddler's throwing something, and like you're no longer regulated and you might yell. I think that it's like obviously okay. You often can't be yelling all the time, but like sometimes it happens. And like you should know that you're not a bad parent if you yell at your kid. But I think the thing for me that makes a difference is like if I do yell, like I apologize for yelling.
Yeah.
Like, and like I say that like I'm sorry I lost my cool at you, but like also you can't do that, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think you also brought up a good point there where you were talking about like yourself as a parent being regulated. And like, if you're like, I think that's a big piece of the conversation, at least on social media, that's missing. I do feel like I'm starting to see more like psychologists talk about this more now. But again, we're talking about like back then, like pre-parenting, the things we thought we were going to do. Back then, it was kind of painted as like, yeah, you're never going to lose your cool. You have to always like validate emotions, be calm, be, yeah, like regulated. But like, a lot of us millennials, like never learned how to regulate ourselves. And so it's like, how can you teach these little humans to stay emotionally regulated when like we're still learning how to do that? And I do feel like that's like a big piece that was missing, back then in these conversations. Like, oh,
Yeah.
wait, first you have to learn how to do that yourself. And many of us are
Hmm.
still trying to learn how to do that. Like you said, deep breaths only take you so far.
Yeah, and it's hard sometimes. I mean, like, I can think back to my son. He's 5 now, and he's still like not a good sleeper. And like, be trying to get him down for a nap, and he wanted to be like, rocked in the rocking chair, but then like he'd be like trying to like bite me or pull on my hair, and he's 15 months or whatever. And it's like, you can only stay cool for so long before you do just have to like set them down and like remove yourself for a moment and like really actually implement like self-regulation tools so that you can still like show up and parent the way that you want to parent and have that like recognition and awareness to do so, which again, like you said, like not taught how to do that.
Well, and like you said too, like that example, like not sleeping. Like if you have a kid that doesn't sleep, your life is hell. Like, I mean, you had Luca that was a tough sleeper. My daughter was a tough sleeper for a really long time, almost like the first full year of her life, like never took naps. Which like with a second child not taking naps, like I was like, I need a damn break. Like what? What is going on here? Sleep, child. And then yeah, it would take her forever to fall asleep at night. And like you have to take that into account too. Like when you're not sleeping, your capacity for self-regulation is so low. And then taking into account all of the hormonal changes, like nutrition, like how well are you eating and fueling your body? Because I don't know about you, but I also get hangry when I'm not eating well. So factor that in. And
Yeah,
it's like, it's such a, I feel like, nuanced thing, right? Like there's
it
so many
is.
factors that contribute to it. But then if you're like seeing all these things that it's like you're supposed to do X, Y, and Z as a parent, but your capacity is like so low, and so then you're doing these things that you're quote unquote not supposed to do, then you just feel so much of that guilt, like that mom guilt, right? And you're like, oh my God, I'm a terrible parent. Like my kid's gonna turn out terrible, like I'm scarring them for life.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just you spiral.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think like probably people go through that spiral like constantly, especially I think, I don't know, in that first like newborn to like 2 year old stage, like you said, where there's all of these other factors coming into play that really impact your central nervous system, like the sleep and potentially poor nutrition, maybe just like lack of adequate support. There's, I think, we can bring like childcare into this discussion around like
Hmm.
systems of support where, oh, maybe, you're working from home or you're a stay-at-home mom, only one person's parenting, you don't have maybe many family members around to help you, but you can't utilize outside care due to like income. I think that would be pretty like ignorant to not like add that to the discussion with this.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like we went on a little bit of a tangent, which is totally fine. But so the thing, I'm like, oh wait, we've lost the plot a little bit because the thing we said we'd never do as moms were like all the things that gentle parenting says you shouldn't do, right? We were like, okay, we're not going to do those things then.
Yeah.
Um, and what we did instead was, like you said, sometimes you lose your cool, you do yell, but I do think it's in that like repair work that is really impactful. Or even, yeah, like you said, like trying to like get some help and some like childcare so that like you can have more capacity. Um, I think too, therapy.
Yeah.
is something to mention. Um, that also helps with parenting. I also think that that's not talked about enough, like going to individual therapy or even like couples therapy, so you can work with your partner on how to like,
Hmm.
manage the load better.
Yeah.
Those things can all help too.
Yeah. Well, I think when I was like thinking about childcare, like for myself, like I think beforehand, like I was working on being able to like transition to working from home to be able to be with my kid because that was a goal. I wanted to be able to be home and present. My previous positions, in work had been,
Hmm.
very long hours away and out of the house. And so my husband's job is also like that. And so I didn't want to have them have to be constantly, in childcare. And
Hmm.
so, um, but part of like being in that situation and like having to both take care of a newborn kid during COVID and also trying to work from home and grow business and not initially have a lot of outside support. Again, like just like impacted that ability to be that like gentle, gentle parent that I thought I was going to just instinctively be better at. And it actually just took a lot of like inner work on my part over the course of these 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I thought too that like I was going to be the primary caregiver for my kids, like not send them to childcare, like you said, or like I even thought at one point that I was going to be a homeschooling mom. I was like, I'm gonna keep my kids home with me. And it's funny too because I feel like it's interesting the things that you say you're gonna do before you've even met your children, right? Or like seeing their personalities develop. Like as my son especially has gotten older, I'm like, this is not a kid that I could keep home. Like he won't thrive. Like he is so social. He loves playing with other kids. He loves to learn. He was always so intrigued by school and like other kids that he knew that went to school that I'm like, that's what he wants to do, Or even like for myself, I just started to realize like I don't have the capacity to homeschool or have him home with me all the time. Like I also thrive and do better when I have some time where I can like pour into my work or like do things for myself. Um, so I do feel like that kind of ties into it as well. Because like you said, then that space allows you to be or gives you the space, the capacity
Yeah,
to be the parent that you want to be. Um, because like now he's in pre-K and I'm like, this is the best thing for both of us. And this is something I said I was never gonna do.
I
And it's
know.
great.
Yeah. It's so helpful. I mean, again, I thought that Luca was just gonna like stay home with me until he started preschool and like we got to like the 2 year mark and it just got like so hard to be constantly dividing my time between both like work and him, oftentimes like simultaneously. And like he also, like you said, like needed daycare to have
Hmm.
those like social, emotional type of exposures because we didn't necessarily have this like community of like mom friends where we could schedule play dates. And I also didn't
Yeah, same.
necessarily always have time to
Yeah.
do a play date with my work schedule. And
Mhm.
so, again, I didn't have that expectation around parenting, but it was, again, the best thing for both of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's like an important thing too, like you said, like just not having the time or like not, I know I've said capacity a million times in this podcast now, but like I do think that's such a big factor, right? Like,
Yeah.
what do you want to do as a parent? Like, what, because I think sometimes too, we can like lose ourselves, right, in parenting and motherhood. And it's like
Oh
your
my
whole
gosh.
identity or your whole sense of self goes to that. And you kind of forget like what. fills up my cup. As cheesy as that sounds, like I'm a human being too. Like I deserve to also have these things for myself or like have time for myself. And that's not being selfish. That's important. That could be a whole conversation for another
Yeah,
episode.
absolutely.
Um, but again, I think that that factors into the way that you parent as well, like making sure that you're also like taking care of and prioritizing yourself, which I also think is a general theme that we have on this podcast. Like we're trying to help moms thrive, throughout the whole motherhood journey. Um, but also that time and space is important too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think that kind of covers what we wanted to out
I think,
of
yeah.
that topic. Like, I think
We
we
talked about a lot
extracted
of
some
things.
good points. Um, but yeah, I think it just, yeah, goes into those like bigger themes of like how you can like show up for yourself and be that like parent that you want to be, regardless of what style is the best fit for like you and your child. So,
Right. And if you are like a newer parent or someone who's pregnant and you're like preparing for parenthood, like just know too, like it's okay. If you go into this being like, I'm gonna do things this way, like it's okay to change your mind. It's okay for things to like ebb and flow. I think that's why we wanted to do this series, right? Of
yeah.
like, there's no right or wrong way to do things. You can always change your mind, you know? We're all
Yeah.
out here winging it, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think just too like being able to have like listening to something like this would have been so helpful to like help just the expectation and not put so much like pressure on myself as the
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah, because especially when like you talk about like mental health stuff too. I know we've talked about that before. Like you have opened up about postpartum depression and
Yeah.
I've mentioned some postpartum anxiety. Like again, all the pressure and expectations I do think factor into um those mood disorders too. So,
Yeah. 100%.
yeah.
Alrighty. Well, if you enjoyed this, found it relatable, helpful, please make sure to share with a friend and subscribe to the podcast. You can also find us on Instagram at Vibrantly You Podcast and individually at Vibrant Mama Wellness for Megan and Wholesome Huntress Nutrition for myself. Thank you for coming to our coffee chit chat, and we'll see you next week.